Hey, this is David D. Hilster. I'm a critical thinker, science dissident, and I'm here to tell you the truth about science, something your university professors won't tell you, the mass media won't tell you, and certainly those science evangelists who know everything won't tell you. I'm going to talk today about a very simple question we get, and people are sort of don't understand why we even exist, and that is, why fight mainstream science? It's so well founded. We've got millions of scientists around the world working in it, and millions of students are taught it. So why are you doing this? One of the questions we get all the time, and really comes down to looking at the world critically. We are at a point in time where science is at a crossroads, when science becomes a religion. When people cannot go against mainstream science, you can't go against Einstein's relativity, say it's wrong. You can't say the Big Bang is wrong. You can't say that particle physics needs to be thrown out since the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. You can't say those things. You can't say that expansion tectonics is a much better model than plate tectonics. When you get to a point in science where you cannot question, where people feign to question, and also when people start using language and make excuses for paradoxes that are not impossible for the lay person to understand because they're too complicated. They're impossible to understand. That is, when you look at special relativity, it's laden and filled with paradoxes. It's both paradoxes both physically and paradoxes mathematically. Dr. Karazani in the 1940s showed this with special relativity. Why do we do that? Why does Karazani do that? Why do I do it? Why do the thousands and thousands of people around the world do it? Because they remove themselves from the peer pressure. There's no peer pressure. If you want to become a particle physicist or an astrophysicist and impress all your classmates from high school 10 years from now that I'm an astrophysicist from MIT, you've got to go along with everything they do there. If you try to do an experiment against Einstein, they won't allow you to do that. If you want to show plate tectonics is a better, expansion tectonics is a better idea, theory, model for the Earth than regular plate tectonics, where the radius stays the same instead of expands, good luck with that. In fact, if you try anything, you're going to find that you will not be able to challenge the status quo in the universities. And the arguments you're going to get are, we've got thousands of people doing this, millions of people who are being taught this. We show Einstein's relativity to be right millions of times a day in a particle accelerator. Not. Why? You're showing that there's no mass increase every time you shoot off a particle accelerator, which goes right against special relativity. But we don't talk about that. And that's when it becomes a religion, when the problems are there right in front of our face and we never talk about them. So why am I fighting mainstream? Because I use my brain in my own critical thinking, and ever since I was a kid, I always allowed myself to look at anything and any new idea. So if somebody comes up with a crazy idea, I look at it and say, okay, well, this person spent time doing it. What are they trying to do? And try to find merit. That's one thing. New ideas, you try to find merit to it and say, oh, I met Karazani, said Einstein's wrong. I didn't go, oh, well, and I spent the next 2 years trying to convince him he was wrong. I'm open-minded to these things, and I look for things. I never looked at it, so I looked at it. And lo and behold, so did thousands of other people around the world, and independently came up with many of the same arguments against why special relativity doesn't work. And general relativity also has problems. Space-time is a joke. It's nothing. All these things, these people, they're either retired, meaning they used to work in the mainstream science, and now they can be who they want to be. Ron Hatch is very well recognized in his field, over 30 patents. He actually made some money. He's not, how do you say, a entrepreneur that made good money off of GPS, and he fights and says relativity, GPS really shows the flaws in relativity. And does anybody listen? They just treat him with ignoring and silence. This isn't the way science should be done. That's why you have thousands of us who are retired, not retired, but people who are retired, or they're not in the field of physics, so the food on the table doesn't depend on whether they're physicists or not. They don't have their peers to have to impress and sort of have to go against, they don't have to go against the entire department at a university, or if they're a theoretical person who does a job in a certain area that depends on a mainstream model, even though they know it's wrong, they'll continue doing it because they've got to make a living. In fact, we have one newer member of our group, the CNPS, that she said that, oh, by the way, I even talk with my colleagues who are very much in mainstream physics, and they even tell her that I don't want to change my worldview. You may be right. This could be all wrong, but I've invested too much time. I don't want it to change now. In fact, one of the people that Dr. Karazani met, who was one of the, I think it was Alvarez, who won the Nobel Prize, said, I'm just too old and tired to fight. So you have all these thousands of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people like myself, who are open-minded to new ideas, are open-minded to criticisms of mainstream, and have no marriage to those theories. Engineers, in fact, are the best physicists in the world because they're never married to a theory. They want solutions, they want a model that works, and they don't sit there and, if that model doesn't work, they have to go to another model. And that's what they do. So we are in a time, in a paradigm shift, where if you listen to the interviews that Dr. Alexander Unsecker has with particle physicists from the Hadron, the Large Hadron Collider in Europe, and listen to them speak. And I know about particle physicists. I'm not a particle physicist, but I read a lot about it, and I've been involved with that area for a couple of decades. I listen to them, I understand what they're saying, and I understand it's mumbo jumbo. It's all blah, 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 because the particles were invented, their attributes are invented, symmetry is invented, it's all invented. But we finally are to a point where today we have this internet and we can give our voices out there. CNN will never have me on. The physics and science evangelists, they will never debate me. And if they do, they're going to give me the same answers. Well, David, are you saying that everybody in all these universities are wrong? Yes. And I'm not the only one, because my closing point today on why we fight the mainstream is we are actually the majority. The particle physicists, the theoretical physicists, and the astrophysicists, and all the theorists are such a small part of science on this planet. The only reason they get attention is because we think that they can someday come up with a bigger bomb. That's why governments throw money at them. I talked about that. Watch one of my earlier videos on this. So we are the silent majority, the ones that read it like, you're kidding, right? I mean, what's this now? Brains, two parts of the universe come together, touching, and that's what makes a Big Bang? Are you kidding me? As I say, shoot me now. So the reason we fight mainstream is, one, mainstream science is a mess. It's based on invention, and it's a big fairy tale land of unicorns. Second, the majority of us know that. Third, we now have a way to get this information out, because you're watching me now, and now our audiences are growing because we have real answers. We have models. I'm working on a model as a model. It's a physical model for light and for gravity and electromagnetic waves and magnetic fields. It's a real physical model. And electricity. We don't need charge. We don't even need charge to say this attracts. Why does that happen? Oh, I've got an electron and a neutron, a positron, and they attract. You don't ever get told why. It's a physical thing that's happening. But we make up magical things. Even charge is a magical thing. And we have answers to that, some of us. So if you're interested in this fight, you will see why. Take the time and study the mainstream. Just think about the Big Bang. You can just sit there and think of why it's such a stupid idea. The universe this big and explodes from the size of a pea. What was around it? Not universe? Then you got to come up with some strange idea. Why would it do that? How would you have all the mass in one place? Like, why would it be? We never talk about that. Oh, it just happened. That's what we see. But there's other explanation for redshift. So join us and you'll see. And like I always say, don't take what anyone says on faith. Stay critical. Stay thinking. I'm David D. Hilster, your science therapist, trying to make you well. Ciao for now.